Hi folks, how you doing? Rev Paul here from Trinity Anglican Church in Cambridge, Ontario, and from The Sent, God's Church Deployed. It's great to be with you here again this evening as we come to you, or as I come to you, with another message from it's a message, the truck's right there, the motorcycle's right here. We're going to call it a message from close to the truck. What do you think? Works for me. All right, so welcome to this week's message from close to the truck. I am Reverend Paul, and it's great to have you here with me as I continue with some thoughts about some life experience and scripture and share some announcements for the community for the coming weekend. First of all, I want to share with you something that happened today. If any of you are avid calendar followers, you'll know that this week had a Friday the 13th. And whenever there's a Friday the 13th, if you know anything about motorcycle culture in Ontario, you know that that means a journey down to Port Dover for their regularly scheduled Friday the 13th motorcycle rallies. Well, today was an October Friday the 13th, which meant that the weather was okay, not perfect, but okay. It wasn't raining, it wasn't snowing, so Reverend Charles and I hopped on the bike and we made our way to Port Dover today. For the first time ever that either of us have been to a Friday the 13th at Port Dover. What an experience that was. I mean, if you're a motorcycle enthusiast of any sort, you gotta go to Dover at least once just to see the lineup of bike after bike after bike. It was amazing to see, and just the culture of the bikes cruising up and down the street was just really neat to be a part of. What drew my attention, though, when I was looking at those bikes is you'll see that my bike is more of a sport touring bike. So it's not the big cruiser that you might see from the Harley dealership. And I certainly don't wear the gear that most Harley riders would wear. I wear pretty flashy, bright colored clothing. And that's not a typical uniform for most motorcycle riders in the area, at least. So I wondered, how would it be received? I saw other sport bike riders on their way there and some adventure bike riders on their way there, and I thought, well, this is a good sign. It must mean there's some sort of diversity going on, at least in the motorcycle world. So as I got down there and we started to wander around, we realized, sure, of course, there were lots of Harley Davidsons and Hondas and Suzukis that matched that model, that cruiser style model of motorcycle, but there were also just as many trikes, there were as many sport bikes, there were as many old classic bikes. There were all kinds of different motorcycles and vehicles from all different walks of life in the motorcycle world. And I thought to myself, isn't it interesting that we can have, I want to guess, thousands of motorcycles that were gathered for this particular event this week. There had to be thousands, definitely hundreds of motorcycles that were all gathered together. And all of those hundreds or thousands, as the case may be, of motorcycles were all getting along just fine. Didn't matter what your style was, didn't matter if you were an older rider or a younger rider, didn't probably matter if you were a seasoned rider or a less experienced rider. Everybody was welcome. Everybody was invited to be part of the community. And what a great sign of life that is, and what a great hint to those of us in other parts of the world that maybe this is the way that life should be. There are lots of places where people are excluded just because of the language they speak or the color of their skin or where they're from, and there's just so much wrong with that. I know in the scripture we are told that there is no difference between slave and free, or from Jew or Greek, or any sort of division that's meant to separate people. That division doesn't exist in the world. So what an amazing example. I'm going to attach some pictures to this week's message from the truck so you can see just that diversity of motorcycles, that diversity of population, of cultures, all blending together and getting along just fine. Maybe we in the church need to pick up on that too. You know, maybe the Anglicans should be getting along better with the Presbyterians or the Pentecostals or whoever else it might happen to be. We all do have a similar idea behind what we do, right? That culture of motorcycle is all about motorcycle. The culture of Christian should be all about Christ. I'm just going to leave that there because I think there's a lot to think about, especially this week as we've seen the struggles that are happening in Israel and Gaza and the struggles that continue in the Ukraine. War all over the place because one group of people think that another group of people shouldn't be the way they are or should have to be more like them. It's an unfortunate situation, but nice to see all of those motorcyclists in Port Dover showing us that there's another way it can be done. I encourage you to see that other way yourselves and figure out how you can get that done too. Right now, a couple of announcements for this coming week. Of course, the Sunday is a big day at Trinity Anglican Church. We have Induction Day, as I will officially be named as the rector there. So looking forward to connecting with all of those folks. But before we get to that, we have Messy Church happening on Saturday afternoon. That's the 14th of October. That's happening from 3 o'clock until 6 o'clock at Trinity. Anybody's welcome to come along, so come on and join us for that. We've got the induction, as I said, at 3 o'clock on Sunday. We've got Bible study on Tuesday evening happening in our hybrid model, both online and in person. So in person in Windsor and Cambridge, and online from wherever you happen to be. Bible study again on Wednesday. There's just so much going on this week. So mark your calendar. Take a look at the announcements in the bottom half of your deployment docs or your Trinity Times and make sure you don't miss out on anything. For right now, I would invite you to keep the shiny side up and the rubber side down. Blessings to you all from this week's message from close to the truck. Bye for now.